Welcome back to the Agweek Podcast. I'm Agweek reporter Ariana Schumacher. This week I spoke with the Hilbert brothers, who were able to go from playing Farming Simulator to buying their own farm with the help of YouTube. So just start off by giving me both of your guys' background. Tell me a little bit about your farming operation and how you kind of got started.
Yeah, so my name's Spencer, and Grant and I are brothers. He's 2 years older than me, and we both went to Iowa State, and so we're a few years removed from it now. And in 2020, Grant bought his first farm, and so I was there kind of helping him, being, helping hand as I was finishing up school. And so now Grant's here farming 250 acres, and just this spring I closed on 50 acres, which was a bit of a project this spring. Had to clear some of it and kind of get it back into production. So officially, I'm technically a farmer. I'll be farming my own ground this first year. So past 3 years, I've been helping Grant.
Yeah, and so like Spencer said, I got started farming in 2020. Kind of right during COVID is when I bought my first piece of ground, and bought just two more after that. And then we got started farming, built this machine shed. Literally, I kind of moved into an area where it was an hour away from home. And why I chose an hour away from home, I don't know, maybe not the best decision, but you didn't know anybody in the neighborhood at all. You didn't know if there was, I started just buying some equipment and stuff, and it's like, where do I put this? I've got corn and soybeans on everything in mine. So, we built a shed. We literally mowed down some corn, built a shed that summer and stuff, and kind of got started farming. And so my grandparents farmed in northern Iowa, and the thing is I love farming. That's kind of where I got my love for farming there. But it was going to be really tough to go farm with family and stuff like that. My dad never farmed or anything like that, just when he was a kid and when he grew up at the farm. But otherwise, it's going to be tough. So it's like, okay, well, how do I start farming? And so we, back in high school, I started a YouTube channel, and 5 years later, a bunch of agriculture-minded people are watching me play a game called Farming Simulator. And so that's kind of, during college, I did that literally every day and made a video every day. And then, through college, you were making kind of a full-time income job, and it's like, okay, well, we can actually start farming. We have some start to start farming. So that's kind of my journey and background. And then in 2020, I started a software company where we're creating a mobile game that we've been building for the past 3 years, and we're about probably 2-3 months away from launching this thing, and it's going to be exciting. I'm really nervous for that, because I've spent every day working on that and trying to build that game. So.
And so, Grant, you started off with a YouTube channel. How did you get your start with farming, Spencer, and kind of talk about how you got your first piece of land?
Yeah, so super similar. In 2017, I started a YouTube channel, so that would be junior year of high school. And really how I started it was Grant and his buddies started their YouTube channel, The Squad. And Grant, one day, he got a check in the mail, or they were divvying out between the two, hey, how much money did we make this month? And Grant got $200. And I was like, holy cow. And then next month, maybe they split $1,000 between the two of them, seniors in high school. Anyway, so I was watching that, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Working some odds and end jobs here. I can literally sit in the basement, get on the computer, play a video game. And we aren't really gamers. Maybe people watching this are like, why? You guys don't look like video gamers, really pale skin, sitting in the basement, And anyway, so kind of saw that as an opportunity. And so I started the YouTube channel. I called mine Spencer TV, couldn't think of a better name at the time. And so kind of grew it from there, and then into college. I started college 2018, and so did 4 years at Iowa State in finance and economics. So Grant's by far more into ag, nowhere along the way until Grant started his did I really think much into agriculture and stuff. I like to work, go outside, and so honestly right now, my full-time job is running this YouTube channel. I kind of get on the computer at 8, I'm done by noon, and then I like to go outside and do different stuff like that. So similar to, I saved up enough money throughout the years, going to college, low expenses, And actually, in college, I purchased a house outside of campus, and so I was we were always into like investments, and always looking into how can I get a better return on my money. So, going to college, found a fixer-up house outside of campus, and fixed it up this summer into freshman into sophomore year, and I ended up selling that last fall, and obviously housing prices went up a little bit. So, just between having a YouTube channel, different investments we made throughout the past 3-4 years. And trying to keep our expenses low, I was able to then afford 50 acres, and it would be central Iowa. So it's actually 30 minutes away from where Grant and I live, and it's in the other direction of where we are now. So it doesn't really make sense, but it seemed like a good opportunity at the time, and I think I got a pretty good deal on it, and I used a beginning farmer loan. So that was a pretty cool process to go through, and kind of use that opportunity of a beginning farm loan to start. So that's kind of similar start and kind of similar path for the most part, just 2 years younger.
And so why farming? Why is that kind of a passion for both of you? Walk me through that a little bit.
Like I said, Grant's probably was more into it and more of a natural passion, where mine was maybe more acquired as I was helping Grant for the past 3 years. Like to be outside and work, and then now that I planted my first field by myself, and really once you have some skin in the game and you actually are hands-on, you can learn a lot more. So, and I did take econ classes, and we talked about ag, but it wasn't, nowhere have I learned anything about the biology and stuff through school. So, my passion has been, growing up in Iowa, just driving by, and then helping Grant, I've started to grow it. But Grant had a lot more of a natural instinct to farm.
Yeah. I think once you get a little taste of it, you get addicted to it, kind of, if it's meant to be, I feel like. So, like, growing up as a kid, you got a little taste of farming and stuff on the weekends, and then just got crazy addicted to it, and then now you're playing a farming simulator game every day, making videos and stuff, and you're farming on the weekends in real life. And I now consider playing the game farming simulator work. And then on the weekends, the real farm work I consider just fun. It's like the opposite for most people. Video games are obviously fun and stuff. So I don't know, it's just, it's one of those things that I think was kind of meant to be, and just got a little taste and got addicted to farming and stuff. And then, you start, especially, the people in it is like you start meeting a lot of people there in college. You start talking to a lot of people, and you find yourself, you talk to them for an hour on the bus, and that's the only thing you can talk about almost. So it's kind of everything that's just summed up over the past years that has just like led to what I call an addiction of farming. So, yeah.
And so you guys are very young to be buying your own farms and getting started as first-generation farmers. What's your biggest piece of advice to a younger person who might not be inheriting a family farm but would love to get started in agriculture?
I always look at it two ways. Whether you can make it. Maybe this isn't the best way to look at it, but I always look at, you can make it really tough on yourself by jumping in right now and not having a plan and just jumping into farming, or you can make it a little bit easier on yourself by planning ahead 5-10 years in advance to when you're going to start farming, to be able to save up money, be able to kind of look at farmland, be able to look at, is this a good ag cycle to be able to jump into farmland? Like, maybe buying your first farm right in 2021, 2022 isn't the smartest idea. I bought one in 2021, but even when I'm buying it, I know I'm like, okay, well, times are going to be tough ahead and stuff. So, but I think looking at it that way is like, hey, have a plan, save up for that plan. Kind of my idea was I was going to start farming by saving up capital and stuff. So if I worked a full-time job till I was 50 or 60 and then finally had enough capital to be able to start farming, that was kind of my plan, instead of just jumping into it kind of blindly and getting into farming and making it a little bit tougher on myself and maybe a family in the future of, okay, yeah, this is going to be a little tough because it's going to be a grind through there. So I always think, have that extra source of income. You can farm on the weekends, but that extra source of income is just so crucial nowadays. It's so crucial.
Yeah, Grant, everybody has different situation perspective, and it's hard to touch everybody's, kind of situation, but having two sources of income and off-farm income really makes sense if you're going to start out. So in our plan, any income that comes off the farm isn't really the primary income that we have. So always probably have two things going at once. I think that's a good rule for everybody to go by, like especially in farming, because it's not as lucrative as other things and doesn't cash flow as good right now. Always have two things going at once. So on and off farm.
And so as a first generation farmer, what are some of the challenges that can come from not just working alongside your dad or getting that family farm? What are some of the major challenges that you face?
Yeah, so I don't really have too much of a background in farming besides just what I've learned from Grant and just watching YouTube videos. So the challenge is just being able to have enough information to make good decisions. And like I said, this is my first year, so I'm kind of figuring everything out from scratch. Nice to have a brother here that can kind of guide me, has went through it, and so some of the challenges are just equipment-wise. Obviously, you have the economics behind everything, and then you have the knowledge to make all these decisions. So you got to figure out probably those two big problems.
Yeah, I'd say the toughest one, obviously, for anybody is the capital side of getting started farming. That's I would say it's got to be the toughest. You can learn a lot of other stuff, but it's tough to gain the capital. But secondly, most importantly for me, was probably just there's a lot to learn. There's a lot of mistakes to be made at your first couple of years. I mean, it's part of the process, and so having like really my learning of just like actual things, setting the combine, setting the planter, not making bad mistakes of planting too wet, stuff like that, has really just been talking to neighbors. A lot of neighbors, seed dealers have been super helpful with advice. Like you would think like neighbors, they're really competitive and stuff, but some of them, when they see you just first starting out, like they want to teach you everything to know. And so I've been really blessed and grateful to have neighbors that teach me everything, watch a lot of ag PhD and stuff. But still, whether you want to call it the school of hard knocks, I've made a lot of stupid mistakes. Like last year, I planted a corn crop way too wet. We were way too wet early. Well, I've never made the decision of when to plant. The first year I planted, it was crazy dry. So it's like, okay, yeah, perfect condition all the time. But now it was too wet, and I probably planted 2 days early, and I bet you it cost me 20 or 10 bushel on the corn crop, which isn't the biggest mistake, but I could tell come fall with the yield monitor. So.
And what would you say to someone who might be wanting to get into agriculture but is looking at it as, I don't have a background in ag, I can't do it? What's kind of your words of encouragement for them?
With no well, first of all, I'd say the biggest thing is, do you really want to get into agriculture? Do you passionately love it? Some sort, are you truly addicted? Because I think in anything in life, if you're really, really addicted and you love it, you're going to find a way. It could be at 30 years old, it could be at 40 years old, but you'll probably find a way into it. There's all opportunities to be in ag. I mean, you don't have to start your own operation and stuff too. I think maybe we'll see where there's some really large operators and they're kind of giving, or maybe obviously people are retiring, but they're giving the person to start, whether they work for them or they trade labor for them, and then that young kid can buy his piece of ground and use that guy's equipment. There's all sorts of ways to get in ag, whether it's a hired hand or starting your own operation. I think if you really loved it but didn't want to build a bunch of capital to maybe get into it, that would probably be the route of trying to work for somebody or working for an older gentleman or woman who's going to retire or something and looking to take over their operation if they don't have any kids could be a potential route too. I mean, there's a lot of people that are like, I have nowhere to go with the farming operation, so there's probably a lot of opportunity for those people too who want to jump in agriculture.
One example is too, and one of your questions was like how do we get the passion for it and stuff, and some of the hurdles. One way Grant and I kind of joke about is like he was saying, I like to phrase it like it's a tuition payment. So we didn't go to school for this, so we're paying our tuition through spending the money and making the mistakes, and so that's kind of how we're learning hands-on. And so just a little fun project, and I kind of look at it, it's probably not a great way to look at it, but this is kind of fun for us. Like we said, our job is having the YouTube channels that we play these video games on, then we come out here, it's for fun. And so I bought a 40-20 this past spring and a little square hay baler. And so that was like a really fun way for me, the best way to learn is hands-on. And so, I don't know, got this little square baler, and I'm going to figure out how to make square bales. And so that was one way cheaply to get into something. Now I've met a lot of neighbors that want some hay, and so I don't know. It's just one little way to look at it. Like, nowhere in that do I think I'm going to get super rich off making square bales, but if you had some free time to mess around and just start from there. So, yeah, that's kind of how I look at it.
And so what's the future for you guys as far as farming goes? What are your future plans next 5-10 years?
Hopefully, my goal was always to be a full-time farmer. So that's the dream. That's the goal. Spend a lot of time farming. You don't have to be a giant farmer, but I'd just love to spend a majority of my time farming. So that's generally what direction I want to go in. That's a little tougher when you have the YouTube side, and you're doing YouTube, and then you have the software company side too, which I think there's a bunch of opportunity there. So it'll probably kind of be a mix between those two, kind of like I'm currently doing now, of being a farmer, hopefully expanding the farm, doing the YouTube side, whether at nights and stuff, and then doing the software company, building mobile games and stuff is kind of the goal right now.
Could you say that question again?
Yeah, what's kind of your future goal for you as far as farming goes in the next 5-10 years?
Yeah, future goals. Sometimes we joke we don't look that far ahead, and we can't plan too far ahead. But one way, just kind of, I'm totally just figuring everything out. Just figuring out how to farm kind of for the first time on my own, and so. Grant kind of mentioned the farm I bought is quite a bit further away from where we are right now in this home base, so possibly in the future would be trading some of this ground to move up closer to home. Grant said this is an hour drive from where we live. It's more like an hour 20 or hour 30. He likes to really play down on how far it is. But so it's a round trip. When we leave home and come back, it's like 2.5, 3 hours. So we knew that was an issue, but we're young. We can drive, and we got a little camper here, but that's kind of maybe a little closer than 10 years as Grant talks about transitioning to there. We're going to see kind of how everything plays out. So we're young, just kind of figuring everything out as we go, and different ventures we kind of have going in a lot of different paths open. Like I said, it's always important to have at least 2 things that you're working on, and so things can change really fast and you can go a different path when the opportunity's there. And so I don't have a crazy amount of plans. Goal is just to always, maybe eventually buy more ground. Hopefully, this is maybe a bad way of looking at it, but if land prices went down more, there's more opportunity for younger people to step in. So that'd be cool to find more opportunities like that. And I personally really just enjoy getting out here and working, getting off the computer. And so one of the land that I did buy was a little bit of an improvement project. And so a couple of these farms we bought in this past fall, we learned how to tile for the first time doing it. So kind of figured out ways to improve something and value add, especially, we aren't renting this ground right now, we're owning it. So just kind of figuring everything out through hands-on work, and we'll see how it goes from there, kind of.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Agweek Podcast. If you enjoyed this content, visit agweek.com/subscribe to support our work. You can also keep up on everything we're working on at Agweek by following us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok, and subscribing to our email newsletter at agweek.com. And of course, you can always catch our best work in the Agweek magazine and on Agweek TV. And please remember to rate and review us wherever you listen.